Welcome to That's What She Said, where we'll spill the tea on women empowerment in the Great Lakes Bay region with your host, Christiana Malacara.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of That's What She Said with me, Christiana Malacara, on That's What She Said Day. Thank you so much for tuning in on the many platforms where That's What She Said can be heard, right? Over the airwaves at WSGW 100.5 and 790, 24/7 on Spotify in a podcast format, and then on YouTube and Facebook and all of those cool social medias that we have access to. So I really want to, welcome you into the space. You are now in a safe space. So just relax, right? But not too much, because I actually, this little segue part that I do, right? Every time I'm kind of just like in the vibe, right? Like, what do I want to say? What piece of advice do I have to give? Was there something that I learned? And I thought about this, well, I always think about it, but I thought about what I want to say specifically today. And I want to say, women who are listening, just stand up. Stand up. Stand up for yourself. Stand up for something that you believe in. Stand up for a cause that is too near and dear to your heart, that you just can't surpass. Does everybody know that Superman pose? The one where you just stand up, point your heart to the sky, put your fists on your hips, chin up, and just look. Just look to the sky, right? So I have two little ones at home, and I make them do this very often. And then I thought, why don't I? And so I started doing it in the morning, just putting my head, just facing the window, head in the sky, and it has truly made a difference. So not only am I standing up and resetting myself more often in this Superman pose, maybe we should call it Superwoman pose, and just resetting. And then I move through my day and I'm thinking, what is it that I need to stand up for? What is it that I need to advocate for? Is it myself? Is it an organization? Is it a cause? I don't know what that is for you, but stand up for something that you believe in today, and wear it with pride. So today on That's What She Said, we have an amazing guest who stands up not only for herself, because, she's a little chatty, but she stands up for youth and their family all across our beautiful region in the Great Lakes Bay. So today we have Jacqueline Leapheart.
Hi, Christiana. How are you today?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for coming by and having this conversation with me. I appreciate that.
I'm so excited to be here.
So would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners and how they might know you in the community?
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jacqueline Leapheart, and I work at Adoption Option Inc. We are a local nonprofit child welfare organization. We do adoption, foster care, and licensing of foster parents, which is where those kiddos go when they're in foster care. But then we also do the other side, which is family preservation, where we go back in the home and work alongside the biological parent to help them get those biological children back in their homes. We also do teen mentoring programs, and in Midland we have a parenting program that we're hoping to expand to the rest of the region soon. So,
can you give us that address?
The address is 601 East Wackerly. It's in the building where Smitty's was for an extended period of time, and then the north end of the community center. It's very near the tennis center on the opposite side of the road.
Adoption Option.
Yes.
Okay. So you facilitate, Adoption Option facilitates so much more than its title, though.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that and tell us, one, what do they facilitate? And two, how did it expand to this?
So, yeah, Adoption Option was started in 2003 by my mother, actually. And she saw a need in the community for children. There was this book called The Mayor Book, Michigan Adoption Resource Exchange. And all the children in Michigan whose parental rights have been terminated were in this magazine once a month, rotating. And it just really got to her. And she didn't know what to do about it. So she decided she wanted to start a nonprofit. She decided that she was going to help those kids get out of foster care. So First, she was told no because she was not a social worker. She was a lawyer. So she had to find a social worker to partner with. And then it, became more than one social worker. And then it became a larger entity. And we were doing adoption and then foster care. And then we started doing licensing of foster parents because those children that are getting adopted and those children who are taken care of in foster care, they need some place to stay. And so the place they stay is with those licensed foster parents. And those licensed foster parents go through rigorous checks to make sure that it's a safe home for children. There are things like the water being too hot. You might not have never measured the water in your house. But if you became a foster parent, you'd have to start measuring how hot the water got in your house because it could get hot enough to scald a child if a child wasn't paying attention. So having egress windows, again, that's not something people think about. But in the bedroom, you have to have, the ability to exit through more than one place. So again, licensed foster parents became a part of our organization. But then in 2012, we were told, you know what, you guys are doing great at this adoption, foster care, and licensing side. Let's take a look at the other side. So in 2012, we started doing family preservation services and we got contracts with the state.
What does that mean? Family preservation services. So
family preservation services are, as I said, those services where the biological parents are involved. So the biological parents sometimes have their kids, sometimes someone makes an allegation against them and CPS gets involved. And sometimes those allegations are not substantiated, and other times those accusations are substantiated. And so when those accusations are substantiated, sometimes there's a removal from the home. Sometimes there's just services put in the home. We do both of those things. So if the child is removed from the home, then they're placed with a licensed foster parent. But the goal of foster care is always reunification. It's always to get them back with that biological parent. It doesn't always happen that way, but that's always the goal. So if we're working towards reunification, sometimes there will be parenting classes for the parent who got that child taken away. Sometimes there will be life skills classes for the parent that got that child taken away to help them build back to that place where they can safely take that child back into their home and all be a functioning family again.
This is amazing. This truly is. The services that you provide, it is full spectrum here, right? And to think that this all started from your mom picking up a magazine and saying, something needs to be done.
Yeah. So
other than your mom picking up the magazine and like, what? This eye-opening thing that like gets broadcasted. What was it that fueled her, to continue? And I'm sure you've had this conversation with her before. You guys work closely together.
Well, the only thing I can say is that my mom is a dog with a bone when she cares about something. Like she's not. She started out the agency literally saying, "I'm not quitting till every child is out of foster care." And I think that she believes that in her heart. And I can't tell you that she doesn't still believe that. She's hopefully getting close to retirement age. She's got some grandkids that she loves playing with, and my niece and nephew are the best. But that was her goal when she started. She was like, I want every child. There was the No Child Left Behind Act. She wanted every child, no child left out of foster care,
I mean, hey, everybody's got to have a goal, right?
Everybody's got to have a goal. But can I tell you, when I tell you currently the number of children in foster care is over 10,000 in the state of Michigan. And it was higher back then.
Wow. That's eye-opening.
So
yeah.
You ask what gets her up in the morning. That's what gets her up in the morning.
That's beautiful though. It really is. So now that you are in this industry too, do you see some of those habits from your mom falling into you when it comes to adoption option?
Oh, I wish. My mom is an amazing woman. She is a leader. People come to her with their problems. She has been in so many different realms. She started out in Midland at Dow Chemical, and then she went into private practice, and then she went to Northwood, and then adoption option. And she still teaches at Northwood as a law professor and the mock trial coach. So
what? Go mama. Go yes. Mama.
She's who you need on your show next.
You know what? We're going to have a follow-up here.
Leapheart women.
Leapheart 1.0, 2.0.
Oh, am I the one this time? Yes, I've never been the one before.
You're always number one in my book, Jax.
But so, no, but I've learned so much from her, and we're so alike that like sometimes she comes to me and she's like, listen, this is how this is going to go because you and me are like kind of the same person. And I'm like, no, it's not. And then I have to come back to her and be like, so this is how it went. And she's like, I know, because you and me are the same person. And so I've learned with age that when she tells me like exactly how something's going to go, I can listen. Like, I don't necessarily have to burn my hands on my own fire. I still do occasionally, probably more than I should. But she has definitely been a source of comfort and strength because she has so much more lived life experience. And she has come out on the other side, a CEO of a nonprofit, a college professor, a coach for a national winning team for the mock trial. And I mean, I just personally don't think there's anything my mother can't do. Like,
No.
I'm sure it's possible, but if you ask me, I'm gonna tell you tooth and nail to the day I die that woman is invincible. She's amazing.
Leapheart for governor.
Yes.
All right. So
you got to get her on an adoption option first, and I just don't know if that's
not
going to
gonna
happen.
No. She's right where she needs to be, and and you're with her. You're with her.
Yes.
So essentially, this is a family thing. That's happening
my dad's on
here.
the board,
and your dad's awesome. So there you go. Okay. So
and both my siblings have interned.
Full circle. When
we believe in family over here. We don't we don't just work about it. We
to the
believe
core.
in it.
To the core. Leapheart here. To the core. Taking that. So here's a question.
Yeah.
Having a mother and a direct role model right there in your house every day, influencing you as a youth, was that ever intimidating?
Oh yeah, no, she's super intimidating. She's very competitive, and I know because I'm super competitive. It's a problem. Like, I live for competition. It's just so much fun.
Is it a problem or a blessing though?
It depends on who you ask.
I wonder what she says. All right. We're gonna, Mama, if you're listening, send us a message. Okay.
But no, it's a great problem to have. You know, it motivates you. It gets you up in the morning. I mean, my mother, for instance, plays pickleball. She is a hardcore pickleballer, and she's gonna say, "Oh, it's not true." But she plays like 3 hours a day. I swear. It's like, where are you? And she's like up at like 5 a.m. so she can be at work at 8, but be on the pickleball court for like 3 hours before that.
Wow. So that competitiveness, and you said you have it too.
I do. I've been losing weight. I've lost over 70 pounds. I've lost like 77 pounds. Yeah.
Wonderful. Congratulations. You feel good?
I feel great.
You look great.
It's amazing. I go to this camp every summer up at Torch Lake called Hey Winter. It's a family camp. We've gone for I'm 38, so for like 36 years as a family, our whole family. And now my brother's wife comes and my sister's husband comes. And so it's great. But there's a trail that we walk down because we live up at the lodge during that week. And there's a trail that walks down to the water and to the craft house and to like basically everything else in camp. And for the last like maybe 3, 4, 5 years, like walking down that trail has just been a bear. It'd take me like 20 minutes. And like I'd have to sit down on the stumps and everything like that. And like, I am so proud to say that this year I was able to do it down to the water in less than 5 minutes.
Wow.
Down to the craft shop, less than 3 minutes. And like, let me tell you, I was just moving, just going, just excited, like to be able to breathe and like get down there. And like, I wasn't even like huffing and puffing when I got down there. I was just down there, you know, like, and so like sometimes I just like go and like walk it just to walk it. I mean, it's a beautiful trail, but I just hadn't enjoyed it in so long because I would like just huff and puff to get there. So
what fueled you to go through that health journey that you're on?
So, you know, one thing that really fueled me was my niece and nephew. You know, they are amazing. They are life-changing. My nephew is perfect. Like she's just perfect. Like I tell my brother that he's like literally my child. God just knew I wasn't ready, so he gave him to you first. But like, he's a firstborn, like nobody's business. I mean, he is just like, he needs attention all the time. And my brother and sister-in-law are both secondborn. So, you know, they're also very content to just like be by themselves or just chill. And then they have a daughter who's secondborn. Again, she's okay to be by herself in the corner. Carter's like, me over here now.
And Aunt Jax is right there.
And I'm like, there's my baby. That's my baby. And they're like, go away. They're like, sit down, just quiet. And he's like, what? That's not a thing. And we went and saw Moana 2 this year. And like, we were just like screaming and like crying and laughing. And everybody's like looking at us. And me and Carter just not caring. I mean, he's 6. I'm 38. There's no cares to give. But my nephew's getting older and starting to walk and run. He's playing sports. And I want to be able to walk and run with him. I want to be able to be there. I want to see him graduate. I want to see him get married. I want to see him, have kids of his own. And, maybe like, you were just like that, bro. You were just,
so you want to be present.
I want to be there. And at the size that I was, that was not something that I saw a possibility of. I have asthma. So I have breathing problems. I've had asthma since I was a child. When I was a very young child, I had bad asthma problems and I'd be in the hospital all the time. And my mom actually one time had to get in the Midland hospital. Used to have this like box that was like a cage type thing. It had like holes that like they could pump oxygen in and then you could like breathe and stuff like that. But they put children in there to like help them breathe and like da-da-da. And so like I wouldn't go in there by myself. My mom had to get in the cage with me because like I was like not like it was not happening. Like it was like 5. And so like me and my mom spent the night in the cage.
Oh jeez.
Like so I could breathe. And like so I mean I had really bad, breathing problems. And like as I got older, I did sports and so I had sports induced asthma, but I carried an inhaler. Things were, okay. But the weight is something different. The weight like makes it harder to breathe. So I wanted to be here. And so I was able to go to a doctor. I got on Ozempic and I work out 2 hours a night because Ozempic was great, but it definitely helped with the not eating as much. But there's another side. There's also eating the right things. There's also working out. My brother and me had gotten on track to try to do weight loss together. He was like, oh yeah, I'll support you in your weight loss. But then he had lost more weight than I did. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well,
what's happening?
He's like, well, I'm a boy. And I was like,
yeah. Okay. So here we go. Let's touch on this then. So far we're learning you, so for our listeners who are just tuning in, we have Jax Leapheart with us, and Jax is very family integrated. We're working with family. We're, changing our life pattern, our lifestyles, not only with family, but for family. So let's touch back in the last 5 minutes here on working with family. You said mom's boss, mom's CEO, mom's head honcho. Mm-hmm. You're right here, a couple steps behind her, right? And making the day-to-day happen.
I'm a few more steps behind. All right. There's some great people right behind her, but I'm a step behind them too.
I love that. So Dad's on the board. Mm-hmm. Siblings were interning and are integrated, and I'm sure this is a conversation that's at the table all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Adoption option. What is that dynamic? Let's unpack that dynamic of working with family so closely, so regularly.
Yeah. Well, I think that family's important. And my brother, he took after my mom. He became a lawyer. My sister works in HR, and they're both professionals. And I think that they give a fresh perspective to us sometimes when we're all together in a group, because my brother can have, a different legal perspective. He lives in a different state as well, has worked in corporate situations and things like that. So he's sometimes like, well, Mom, in a bigger context, have you thought about this and stuff like that? And then my sister, she works more in HR. So sometimes when Mom has issues, and she's like, I wonder if this, she might talk to my sister and be like, if this were, not give any details, my mom's a lawyer, she's very serious about confidentiality. But, like if this was a situation, like something like this happened in your company, what? So I think that our family is able to comment, not get super involved, like the nitty gritty details, but able to like help give perspective sometimes on bigger situations. My dad, he was kind of like our volunteer CFO for like ever. He has since passed those duties on because our organization has expanded. But, he worked for Dow for a number of years. So he was able to take that expertise after he retired and help us work through these big problems in these budgets. We were applying for grants and things like that, So, I mean, but my brother is definitely somebody I've always looked up to. He went to the University of Michigan like my parents did, and then he became a lawyer. He's a Marine as well. We are so appreciative of him for his service, but even more appreciative that he came back whole because, he went over to Afghanistan for a little while as well. So,
Was your family always this close-knit, like growing up? It sounds like you have a lot of siblings too. Two siblings.
Two siblings, okay. And then they're both married now. Yeah.
So the family grew.
Yes.
But when you were young, were you, and growing up, going, moving out of the house and whatnot, were you always this close-knit with them?
Yeah. I mean, I think that we're pretty close. Like we it's kind of always been that way. Like even my parents, like my grandparents on both sides knew each other. Like my mother's parents and my father's parents knew each other, and they talked on a regular basis, like 3 or 4 times a year. And like sometimes we did holidays together and went to church together. So I also go to family reunions every 2 years on my dad's side. And like literally my grandmother had 11 brothers and sisters. There were 12 of them total, and all but 2 had children. And so like there's 150 people in the bloodline, and we all descend on one city every 2 years. Last year it was in Arkansas. In 2 years it's in Detroit.
Hey.
Woo-woo. Never done it before, so we're really excited. But so I don't know, like family is just like a really hardcore belief that I hold. Like it's like God, family, and then there's like, family versus
and then adoption option. God, family, adoption option.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jax. So for everyone who is listening, stay tuned for the second half. We have Jacqueline Leapheart with us from Adoption Option, and she's going to spill the tea on herself. We're going to dive deeper in what is behind the woman.
That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara is back. Now let's spill the tea.
And we are back for the second half of That's What She Said. And I just want to say thank you. Thanks for staying tuned in. I appreciate it. And I appreciate our guest so much, because what she does is really put herself out on a limb. She works for an organization that advocates for children, parents, and all the services that fall under Adoption Option in Midland. So today we have Jacqueline Leapheart. Thank you again for being here today. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
And I really do want to kind of dive deep. Last segment, we kind of just scratched the surface here, talking about you, what you do, what the org does, and how your family is very hands-on. Mm-hmm. Sounds like in work and in life and in decision-making for work and life. And you said that you were currently going through a health journey. Mm-hmm. How did your brother get on board with you for this?
So my brother, he felt like he had been gaining a little weight too. And I said that I wanted to do this. And he was like, we were at the family camp we were talking about. And we were like, oh, we can all do it together, because at that point, my sister was getting married in May of last year. So that was, it was she got married in May of 24. So in August of 23, we were all at camp together. Mm-hmm. And I had said that I had seen the doctor and was, getting on this path. And David was like, oh, well, we can all lose weight for Jam's wedding. And so kind of became a let's go. However, never to be never to be outdone. I got to Christmas and David had lost so much more weight than I had. And I was like, well, doggone it. And, he was like, I'm working out. Are you working out? And I was like, yeah.
No.
Yeah, sure not. And he's like, well, maybe you should try it. And I was like, okay. So I started working out right then and there in my brother's garage. I just started walking around the car in a little circle. and I had like my phone, and I was watching Hot in Cleveland, which if you haven't watched it, is hysterical.
All right, I'll have to write that down. I haven't watched it.
Oh, it's great. It's Betty White.
Sold.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sold.
Betty White, Valerie Bertinelli, and then Daphne from Frasier.
Oh, yeah.
And then the girl that the dad ends up with in Frasier.
Okay, I didn't get that far.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the dad ends up. But
so the competitive gene kicks in, and you're like, all right,
so
I'm gonna start
walking around his, and like, I'm telling you, I walked around for like 2 hours, like 4 episodes at a time, like, because it was a really good show. So I was just kind of watching the show. But they'd like come outside and they'd be like, "What are you doing out here?" And I'm like, "I'm walking." And they're like, "Okay, all right." And so when I got back, I started walking my own garage because, you know, Michigan's cold. All right. So it was like December when I got back. So I started walking in my own garage, and people were like, "Why don't you walk outside or on a treadmill?" And I was like, "But see, in my garage, here's the thing. In my garage, I can sit down when I want to. I can stop when I want to, pause, then get back up. If I'm on a treadmill and I stop, then you got to do all the starting over again, and you feel bad, and the people and everyone's looking at you. But see, I can be in my own space, just stop, do a little bit, watch a little of the episode, and keep it moving." And so I continued to walk in my garage till it got too cold, and then I started walking in the basement. I now live in.
I love this plan.
You can walk at home too.
It's good. You can walk it. Advice from Jacqueline Leapheart. You can walk at home too.
And I now have an apartment. And I walk in my apartment just from the door to the other door. Just
I hope you're not on the second floor.
I'm not.
Okay.
People keep asking me that.
So it sounds like you found what works best for you.
And hold on, I didn't tell you the part. So after my brother had said that he lost more weight than me and I started exercising, we had to order the dress for my sister's wedding.
Yeah.
Right. But my sister had these dresses that were serious. And so we had to order them like 2 months in advance. I don't know if that's normal. I haven't been in that many weddings.
Same.
But so
I'm not that cool.
I know, right? So I order the dress a size too small.
As any Leapheart would. I really feel this trend is very strong here.
So I ordered the dress a size too small. And so I literally put the dress up on the refrigerator, on the doors, on my bedroom door. Just like, listen, if you don't fit into this dress, your sister, like, do not
go to this wedding.
Do not go to New York not fitting in this dress. This is what we do. This is what we can't do. Because the dress was supposed to come in like April 13th, and the wedding was like May.
Okay,
like
that's a deadline.
Right.
I've ever heard one. Yeah. So we all need to know.
Oh, I fit into the dress. I look good. Girl, I looked good.
Send me a picture later.
I sure will. There's pictures on Facebook. I looked great. But let me tell you, it was the most motivated I have ever been, because I was not going to let my baby sister down. Not that me not being in her wedding would have affected anything, but I'm just saying I was going to be in the wedding. I was so honored to be asked. She is a beautiful woman. She is a bright, shining light. She takes care of everybody all the time. She has finally found a wonderful man to take care of her for the rest of her life, and they are partners, and they do great things together, and I'm just so happy to see her excelling in life. And so I was honored to be a part of that day. So obviously I didn't want to screw it up by not fitting into the dress.
But you did it.
But I did it. But I'm gonna tell you, like, my dad's like, "I'm sick of seeing this dress." He's like, "I need you." He's like, "Are we on track?" Because like, if I see this dress in one more place in the house, like it was in the garage.
But it sounds like the family was in full support to get you in this dress. So here's a question for you then. When you're setting goals, like in general here, when you're setting goals as a woman, do you abide by that hard deadline, or is it something that you kind of give yourself grace on?
I give myself grace.
Why?
Because I tend to try to fit, as my dad says, 13 eggs in a basket made for 12.
13 eggs in a basket made for 12. I've never heard that. I hear a lot of little things like this on here.
My dad is one of his favorites. You and your mother. put 13 eggs in a basket made for 12. And anybody who knows this will tell you it's completely true. And I'm like, that's why God gave us you, because you have another 2 hands. Like,
Hold the other egg.
Hold the other egg.
I've heard of don't put all your eggs in one basket.
No, you can put all your eggs in your one basket if you can carry the basket, but if you can't carry it because there's only 12 spots, you're in trouble.
Sounds like you need to eat an egg.
Not a raw egg. Oh no.
Rocky style. Okay, so giving yourself grace.
Yeah.
Is that important to do?
It is.
Why?
It's actually one of my tattoos on my wrist.
Grace.
It says grace, and the other one says mercy.
Why did you choose those 2 words?
Because I think it's important that we have grace with each other, because God gives us grace each and every day. And so if we don't give each other grace, then why do we deserve his? And we get it unconditionally, whether we deserve it or not. So, and mercy, you know, like, people deserve mercy. You know, like, sometimes things feel like life or death matter, and they're not. You know, sometimes things feel like if it doesn't get done right here, right now, it's just whatever. But like, sometimes we need to be merciful because somebody was merciful with us. Somebody let us get this far, and they didn't have to. They could have fired us. They could have, you know, not been friends with us. They could have, you know, whatever. They could have broken up with us, but they didn't. They pushed through. They saw something in us that they wanted to grant us mercy. They wanted to give us grace. So I just think that waking up every morning and seeing those 2 things, like, it's a great reminder to, you know, give people the grace and mercy that someone gave you.
That's wonderful. So I have a little bit of a tough question here then. Along the lines of grace, what is the relationship between grace and accountability for you?
Well, my parents had a favorite saying, my mom, called learned helplessness. And so, and my mother did not tolerate learned helplessness at all. And so you can have grace, you can forgive people, but you also have to take accountability for your actions. Because another one of her favorite sayings is, you can't change the wind, but you can always adjust the sails. And it's true, because there's always going to be wind. There's always going to be something coming at you. And there's nothing you can do about the fact that something's going to come at you, because that's life. My dad says life is a series of problems waiting to be solved. So it's going to come at you. But what you do is it's how you carry it, how you hold it, how you work through it. You know, my mom calls me and my dad firefighters. We you know, jump in, solve a problem without much risk for thinking of like what consequences we're going to face for solving this problem. We got to get in there, solve the problem, and we'll figure the rest out later. You know, like, so. And I imagine, you know, thank you for their service to all the real firefighters out there. But I imagine that's what they do. You know, they say, okay, there's a fire, I got to get in those gear, get those people. You know, my health be doggone, we'll figure that out later. You know, I got this thing on, and that should protect me. We're good. Let's go. You know, so, and that's kind of where me and my mom sometimes are. We just kind of run in there.
Go right in.
But another thing, you asked me about what I do, and I told you about the adoption agency, but I also have a second job. I do real estate photography for a company called Windowsill, and photography is my passion and actually how I got into the adoption agency. But the Windowsill is an amazing part of my life too. It allows me to meet people all over the state of Michigan. And so it's a wonderful opportunity that I was able to find.
Has there been a time, or can you share a time with us where you've had to adjust your sails to this wind that just got thrown at you?
Yeah. I think. I think my senior year in college, my junior year in college, I ended up dropping a couple credits and had to take some summer classes. And when I met with my advisor, he said that I would not graduate on time. And I was like, you've got me confused with somebody else. Because my parents said they're only paying for 4 years of college, and I am not we're like, I am not doing this without help. Like,
no, thank you.
Like, you know, so I was like, I was like, you know, we've already taken out the loans we're gonna take out. You know, we've got this together. Like we've got plans. You know, like so this has to end in 4 years. And so, he was like, well, I'm sorry, you're just not gonna graduate in 4 years. He's like, maybe 4.5, maybe 5. And I was like, that's not gonna work for me. So I took 20 credits over the summer, and then I took
Holy smokes, Jax. Okay, that's a lot.
it is.
That's a lot of credit. So
It
you
is.
clearly adjusted. Like, whoa.
And then I took 18 credits in the fall, and 6 at Northwood. Did a study abroad that semester at Northwood, and then ended up taking an what is it called? Taking a project. You know,
Like internships?
No, the project that you do, independent study.
Oh, independent study.
I took an
yes.
independent study
Yes.
on and did a photography exhibit at the museum in Midland, the Historical Society.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did when they first opened. It was like 2007 when I graduated college. Yeah.
So did you do it in the 4 years?
I did it in 3.5.
keeping flow with the Leapheart trend.
But I did go back to him after I got my letter that I was graduating and say, sir. And he said, in 20 years, I have never been wrong. I said, I know, but
today you are.
we did not have that kind of financial responsibility and fortitude to exercise those extra bills.
You said photography again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my degree's in photojournalism.
Photojournalism.
Yeah, from Central Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much about you.
Yeah.
Photojournalism. Okay, so what made you start down that path?
High school, actually. I was in middle school and I fell in love with poetry, and then in writing. And so then in high school, I took journalism, and I had this journalism class freshman year, and I loved it. But then I hated writing journalism because it was all these writing with parameters, and I wanted to write poetry and free and la and all the stuff. Anyways,
you're a creative.
Yeah, you know. And so my teacher ran in rushing one day and said, we need somebody to take the headshot. It's of a swimmer. And I was like, well, I'm a swimmer. And she's like, you won't have to write the article for homework today. And I was like, I'll do it. I got it. And my teacher will tell you the same story. Like, she will tell you the same story that I didn't raise my hand until she said I was getting another writing assignment. But I took the picture. It was a great shot. I caught like the water droplets on the camera and everything like that. And that was like when they weren't the DSLR cameras, they were the cameras that like turned.
Yes.
So she's like, well, if you want a spot as a photographer on the paper, you know, like you can have it. And so I excelled really quickly and got a couple of front page photos, not the big one, but like the ones at the top and stuff like that. And then, you know, I got a couple like feature photos, and I did get a couple of, you know, front page photos. And senior year I was editor with another guy. He was sports and news, and I was portrait and feature. And won a couple of awards, and then went to Western Kentucky for photojournalism, and they were top 5 in the country. Back then, I don't know if they're now, but I was there for a couple of years. It was a great experience. Pledged a service sorority called Gamma Sigma Sigma.
Yes.
And met some wonderful people. But I ended up getting sick. So I had to come home, be closer to home, so we could figure it out. Things are better now. So I went to Central Michigan and finished up in a year and a half there, and then did a second degree at Northwood in advertising marketing management. And started working for Adoption Option after I graduated from Northwood, doing photo books, because we go to the adoption hearing, and then we take pictures, and after we take pictures, we put them in a coffee table book, and then we give the book to the family. And it's like a baby book.
Yeah, I like
and the
that
reason that we started that back then was cell phones weren't as big back then. And there were laws in the state of Michigan that said that foster care children aren't allowed to have their picture taken. So if a child had grown up in foster care, they may not have a baby book. They may not have a lot of pictures of themselves. So that was a really special thing back then. There's still laws about that kind of thing, but, you know, with the advent of cell phones, at least the kids can have pictures of themselves growing up, you know, even if the family don't have pictures together.
So here's a question, because we've talked on this show just fairly recently with someone who's very creative. You know, she called herself a maker. Okay. And the more I'm learning about you right now is you are a creative person. Then you turned around and went to school for marketing. And all your siblings, you called them professionals. So as a creative, what was that dynamic with siblings who are professionals?
Well, you know, I'm definitely the different one. I love photography, and I'm that sibling that's like, guys, let's take a picture, and everyone's like,
oh, great, she wants to take a picture again.
Right. So I'm that sibling, and I'm like, you know, but then my mom, again, she's similar to me because we do family video calls weekly usually. And we don't get it done every weekend, but you know, we get it done more often than not. And so she's usually the one that sends out the call for the video call. So
why is it that important for you to capture photographs though?
Because I feel like they're memories, they're moments in time. And you know, I read something one time that said collect moments, not things. And like I'm dating a wonderful guy right now, and one of the things I started doing when we first got together was putting photos of us in an album. And like I don't have like you know, remember we were in high school, we had the like little box of like all the stuff that we collected, like the movie tickets and the stubs.
Yes.
I don't know where any of that stuff is. Like, bro, where does it go now? Like we have like
Mom.
real lives, and like I think it might go in the trash sometimes, like unintentionally, but you know, but I do have like I was showing my new coworker, and I have like over 300 pictures in the album of us, and I can go back to all of those and like have moments in my head of like what was happening. And it's usually a funny moment because he doesn't like taking pictures either. So he's like,
wow.
So he so to combat this, he, whenever I ask him to take a picture, he's like, and just like I'm like, really? Like,
those on the radio, Jax just made a funny face.
So, you know, and it, I mean, so, but those are great memories for me because even though I don't have that many pictures of him smiling, I know that he was like, you know, we were joking in that moment, we were laughing and we were having fun. And I'd rather have that moment than, you know, just like him smiling, saying, you know, and like me knowing that it wasn't genuine, you know?
Yeah.
So, but he keeps me laughing. He's a wonderful guy.
We're talking with Jacqueline Leapheart here, and she actually brought a poem for us that, and now would be a great time when we could do that, that she holds near and dear to her heart, and we're gonna go ahead and ask her to read that off.
So it's not just near and dear to my heart. My grandmother, I know, the family again, shut up. My grandmother used to recite this poem to us often. And she's no longer with us, but I know that she's always in heaven looking down on me. And recently I was talking to a friend and I told her this poem. And it really meant a lot to her. So I just wanted to share it with all of you women out there to tell you to don't quit. This poem is by Edgar Albert Gust. And it says, when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, when you want to smile, but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns, and many a failure turns about when he might have won had he stuck it out. Often the goal is nearer than it seems to the faint and faltering man who learned too late when the night came down how close he was to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint on the clouds of doubt, and you never can tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems afar. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things seem worst that you must not quit.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is Jacqueline Leapheart, and that's what she said. We'll see you next time.